Hi, I'm Irene, and welcome to Progressive Splits Training. Today's class will focus on strengthening and stretching your quads and your hip flexors. You will need a few props, so make sure you have 2 blocks, something to use as padding like a blanket or a towel, and some space on the wall. When you're ready, let's get started standing up. Today's class will be a bit more like a workout class, although there will be some stretching and fun stuff thrown in there. So from your standing position, take your feet out a little wider than hips width distance. You can let your toes turn slightly out and then interlace your hands in front of your chest. From here, inhale, lengthen, and then exhale, squat. Sit your weight back like you're sitting in a chair. Allow your knees to push slightly out to the sides and then rise back up. Squeeze your glutes at the top. Keep going. Sit down into your chair, let the knees go out slightly and come back up. Continue on at your own pace. For those of you that practice yoga frequently and can lower all the way down into a passive squat, do not lower down to that point. So stay active, even if you can go lower. Only lower down as far as you can stay while engaging the legs. Every time you lower down, keep the knees pressing gently out. We've got a few more. You might feel your quads starting to talk to you, or maybe not yet. 3, 2, and 1. Pause at the top, release your hands. Let's transition into tabletop. Make your way down onto all fours. Take your hands underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hips, and let's take a few cat-cows. Inhale, drop your belly, pull your chest through, tilt your tailbone up. Exhale, round and curl, push the ground away. 2 more times, inhale. Exhale, round and curl, push the ground away. 1 more time. Inhale, cow pose. And exhale, round. Return back to your neutral tabletop. Let's do a little bit more wrist warm up. So from here, walk your knees in slightly closer toward your hands and bring your knees into touch. Start to lean your weight forward and back over your wrists a few times, making sure to ground down through the index finger knuckles. The next time you lean forward, pause and stay, push the ground away, hold for 3, 2, and 1. Release back, shoulders over the wrists again, separate the knees once more. From here, tuck the toes under, push down through your hands, and see if you can hover the knees off of the mat. Holding this position, pretend like you're going to drag your hands toward your knees and your knees back toward your hands. Notice how this feels, holding here, 3, 2, and 1. Good, release the knees back down, untuck the toes, grab your blocks and place them to either side at the top of the mat. Getting ready. Plant your hands and find downward facing dog. Lift your hips up and back. Take a few moments just to pedal it out. Look forward toward the top of the mat when you're ready, and step the right foot just about behind the right wrist or slightly to the inside of the hand. Grab your blocks and set up in a runner's lunge. Y'all know I love this little sequence of events. Make sure the right knee is over the right ankle, and then allow your left knee to tap down, soften the hips, rise up, option to straighten through both legs. A few more times, down and up. Last time, down and up. Good, from here, see if you can walk your left foot in a little closer, walk your blocks out in front of you, and find a supported warrior 3. So hands are on the blocks, right leg is as straight as is comfortable, left leg is definitely straight. From here, bend your left leg and your right leg and see if you can tap your knee to your calf and then rise back up. Good, that's 1. We're gonna go to 10 here. Bend in, curl, and back up. Start to see if you can get lighter on your hands. Down and up, 3. Down, maybe you lift the hands at the bottom, 4. Down, 5. Try to tap lower on your leg if you can. 6. If not, tap higher if it's getting to be hard. 7. 8. Remember to straighten your leg on each rep. 9. Last one, down and up, 10. Release both feet toward the top of the mat. Take a moment in this halfway lift position, holding here, lengthening through the spine. And we're just gonna swap it out from here. So walk your blocks a little further back and step back into a runner's lunge. Left knee over the left ankle, hands are just about underneath the shoulders. Tap your back knee down and rise up, straighten through both legs. Again, tap it down, soften the hips, and rise back up. Last time, tap it down, lift it up, and from here, walk the right foot in a little closer. As you do that, walk the blocks out in front of you. Lift up into a supported warrior 3 position, strong legs, both legs as strong and straight as you can make them. And then from here, bend both knees, tap and curl. Maybe you get light on the hands, maybe not. 1, this leg is not as strong for me. Down, up. 2, using as much or as little support as you need from the hands. Keep going. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Eventually we do this with no blocks. 8, but not today. Unless you want it to be today. 9, last one, try to tap a little lower, back up, that's 10. Release the right foot down, feet are about hips width distance, take a moment here. And even though it might seem contradictory, strength and flexibility do go hand in hand. And especially if you practice yoga all the time, it's really important to do these strengthening exercises as well. Okay, from here, soften the knees, walk your blocks a little further back, step the left foot back, and find a low lunge this time. So releasing your back knee down to the mat, taking a few breaths here. You can walk your hands in a little bit closer toward your body. And then let's try a 90 degree lunge. I often say this is the least sexy of the lunges because it's not a super attractive position, but you're gonna rise up and try to stack your head over your left knee. Right knee is over the right knee as well. So you have 2 90-degree angles, thus why it's called 90-90. From here, try to close off through the front of the rib cage, lengthening the tailbone down like you're scooping your tailbone under, and then use this to lean back. Place your right hand on your right thigh. Maybe you straighten the arm and lean back. Notice how this stretches in the front of the left hip a little bit differently than the normal lunge. Option 2, squeeze your left glute. Use that to press your hip slightly forward as you continue to lean back. Holding here. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's do a quick balance challenge. So from here, relax a little bit and see if you can walk your right foot in slightly closer to you. Arms out to the sides if you have space. It's like you're on a slack line. See if you can hover the right foot off the mat. You're probably going to fall. I've been teaching this for a little while, but notice how my arms are moving to maintain the balance. When you're ready, release that leg back down. So eventually, as you get stronger with this exercise, you can use your hip flexors more and lift that leg up higher. Just food for thought, doesn't have to be today. When you're ready, release your hands back down and let's step to the top of the mat. Switching it out, step the right foot back, drop down, low lunge, take a few breaths, untuck the back toes. Let the hips soften, you can walk the hands a little further back. And then let's find 90-90. Rise up, maybe shorten your stance if you need to. Crown of the head, stacking over the right knee over the left ankle. From here, scoop your tailbone under, try to close off through the front of the ribs. Use this to lean back. Left hand can come to the left thigh. Maybe you straighten that arm in order to lean back more. Again, this is not a back bend. Instead, thinking about closing off the front side and using that to find the stretch in the front of the right hip. Option to engage your right glute like you're trying to press that hip forward. Notice how that changes the sensation. Or does it? Holding here. Keep trying to lean back, activating your core and holding. 3, 2, and 1. Relax your hip for a moment. Notice how that feels. And let's try our balance challenge. Arms out to the sides like you're a bird or something. I don't know. A dragon, who knows? So from here, walk to the tiptoe of the left leg and then start to see if you can hover that foot. Notice how the arms have to compensate for the balance. I'm really bad at slacklining, but not so bad at this exercise, apparently. Holding here, maybe you see if you can lift that thigh up more in toward you, activating those hip flexors, and eventually releasing it back down. This is one of those exercises that the more you do it, the better you get at it. So if you felt like today was not happening, don't worry, because eventually it does get easier. Okay, from here, let's transition into a seated position. So quads and hip flexors, let's talk really fast. Your quads and your hip flexors do two different things. They do also work together though. So your hip flexors are the main mover when it comes to bringing your thigh into your chest. This is your hip flexors, which also does include one of your quadricep muscles. Now the quads are then responsible for straightening the leg. And if we want to do both together, both groups of muscles have to work together. So that's what we're going to work on in the next exercise. So option to use a block. If the block doesn't work for you, you could also use like a pillow or something like that, but we're going to try to stick with the block for today. Just know that you do have options. Easiest variation is going to be long with the block. So you can put it onto your chest. You could also put it lower. Just kind of depends on your personal anatomy here. So this is the easiest option with the block out wide. Harder is going to be more narrow, and hardest is no block. So decide where you want to start today. Maybe you're going to start on the easier option. I'm going to make it a little more spicy. So from here, keep your feet down and walk your feet in kind of close to you. Hands are back behind you. Use this to sit up tall. So you're plugging your shoulders down in order to sit up nice and tall. From here, come onto the right tiptoe, making sure that block is on the right side, otherwise it's not going to be useful. And then from here, squeeze and lift your foot off of the mat. So these are your hip flexors working in order to do this. If this feels really difficult, you might need the block wider or a bigger pillow or something like that. If it feels too easy, smaller block, or turn it. Okay, 10 times. See if you can straighten your leg, point the toe, make it pretty, and then bring your leg back down. That's 1. Keep going. Broad chest, 2. Straighten it all the way each time. 3. Hip flexors and quads. 4. If we only were to do one exercise, it would be this one. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. Pause at the top. 10. Hold. 3, 2, 1. Ooh, spicy for sure. Rest for a second. Take a moment. If you'd like to find a little reverse table, option to place your hands facing forward, walk your feet out a little further in front of you, lift the hips up just for a moment. And when you're ready, release back down. Whew. So even though it might not seem obvious, the stronger your hip flexors and your quads are, the more cooperative they could potentially be when it comes to your splits. The stronger your back leg is, the more these muscles are working, and the more eventually you can get closer to the ground. And now, solely having strength isn't enough. You need to have the strength and the mobility, but for a lot of us, we don't have the strength to support the movements, which is why we work on it. And also, if things like handstand press or any of that stuff seem exciting to you, or even headstand press, doing these exercises will help with that as well. Okay, I just wanted to talk so you had a little extra rest. Let's move on to the other side. Decide how you'd like your block. Big setting, medium, small setting, up to you. Place your hands behind you, walk your feet in, right foot can stay flat, point your left foot. From here, start to engage and just hover the foot off of the mat. At the same time, lift up, broad through the chest, broad through the collarbones. And then let's try to straighten the leg. Straighten the leg and release it back down. Make sure the leg is straightening directly up. Again, up and down. You'll notice the foot might want to go out to the side. Up and down, that's 3. Keep hugging the block. 4. My leg is cramping. 5. Power through. 6. Make adjustments as necessary. 7. 8. 9. Last one, up and hold. Hold. 3, higher. 2, 1, release. Whew. Spicy for sure. Take a second if you want to massage yourself or if you want to take that reverse tabletop position. Not that it does so much for you, but maybe it will boost the morale. We're almost done with the hard stuff, and then we get to relax. When you're ready, release back down. Okay, last thing we're going to do for the hip flexors and quads from a strength perspective is work on boat pose. So boat pose is a really great way to get stronger, but it does activate the hip flexors quite a lot, which is why, for me, my hip flexors are naturally stronger than my abdominals. So I often don't do boat pose because it works the hip flexors so much. So it's just food for thought. one of the things about your practice is figuring out the things that work for you and figuring out the things that might not work for you. I will give options. So we're all going to start with the hands back behind us as a little way to support yourself. And from here, start to hug your legs in, hovering the feet off of the mat. So holding this position. If this is enough for you, you're going to stay. If you feel like you can maintain the tall spine and have your hands out a little wider, but also further forward, do so. Now from here, straighten the right leg and tap it down. Switch sides. Left leg and back down. One more time like that. Right leg and down. Left leg and down. Option for both legs. Good. Now maybe you walk the hands forward. Try not to lose that lift. Holding here. Hold for 3. Maybe right arm lifts. Maybe left arm lifts. Hold 3. I know I lied. I'm sorry. 2. And 1. Release. Whew. Feeling good. Take a moment. Okay. Now we get to stretch. You've earned it. So when you're ready, transition into tabletop. Grab your blocks. Move them off to either side. And then from your tabletop, just step the right foot forward. We're feeling lazy now. Okay, you can take your blocks to the inside, walk your right foot a little further to the right side, and find a lizard pose. So this lizard can really be whatever you like. If you want to use the blocks underneath your forearms, cool. If you like to turn the right toes a little out to the right, roll to the outer edge of the foot, awesome. If you're the kind of person that does like to go for a bind, we are going to get there, but I will give you an option in a few moments. Keep breathing here. All right, so if you are curious about taking the bind, of course you can just bend that back leg and go for it, but I will give you one other option. So kind of a square off for a second, bring the right knee in if it was out, tuck your back toes under, and slip one block underneath your thigh. So this is putting direct pressure on your quadricep, which is kind of nice because it's a bit of a release. So make sure it's not on the knee, it is on the actual quadricep. Now, if you're feeling this and you're like, okay, maybe I just want to hang out here for a few more breaths, you hang out, you stay. Otherwise, see if you can bend your back leg, reach back with your right hand, and give it a little grab. From here, you're going to try to see if you can pull your heel in towards your glute. Of course, if you like to do a little chest opener along the way, that's fine as well. But trying to pull that heel in, finding more of a quadricep stretch. This is one of my personal favorites, using the block underneath the quad. I really find it quite enjoyable. Holding here, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Gently release. Tuck your toes to remove that block. If you'd like to take a brief half split, heel toeing that foot back in, just take a moment or two to straighten out through the leg. That's all you get, a moment or two. And then release back. Left side. Step your left foot forward, move the blocks to the inside, and set up in any variation of lizard. Hands down, forearms down. Left foot can be flat or turned out to the side, rolling to the outer edge. Take about 5 breaths here before we get any fancier. You can stay still or gently move around, noticing if there are ways you can move that change the sensation. Now, some people enjoy the strength work more. Other people enjoy the flexibility work more. Generally, you do the things that you enjoy more, but it's still important to do everything else. When I first started practicing yoga and yoga asana, I really enjoyed the flexibility, so I stretched all the time. But the truth is, I needed more strength and stability in order to support my muscles and my joints. Okay, if you'd like to do the quad stretch, come back to the sole of the left foot, tuck your right toes under, and slip that block underneath your quad. So make sure it's not on the kneecap. From here, if you're comfy and you want to stay, you can just hang out. If you would like the full quad stretch, bend that leg. You can take the chest stretch first, but eventually try to bring the heel in towards your glute as much as possible. Grabbing it with opposite arm usually works best here, so grabbing the right foot with the left hand. Whew. We probably will be feeling this tomorrow. Feel free to let me know. Send me a message, leave me a comment. Five, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Gently release that foot. Put the toes down, lift the block and remove it. Release down and release all the way out of that. Take a second. Feeling good, feeling something. All right, the last stretch we're gonna do is our favorite King Arthur stretch on the wall, also sometimes known as couch stretch, which does sound a little bit more cozy. So when you're ready, you're going to grab your padding, fold it up nicely so that you've got some decent padding, and place the padding up against the wall. Grab your blocks, set up so you're kneeling with your feet on the wall, and then bring your right knee so that that knee is as close to the wall as possible and your heel is just barely outside of your hip. If this is enough for you, stay here, press through the hands, tuck the tailbone under. Otherwise, step the left foot forward. If this is enough, stay here. You can also work on sitting the hips down. It's just a different stretch. In order to isolate the quad or quads, we bring the hips back and eventually you could rise up to the wall. Remember, you can stop anywhere along the way that suits your body today. No pressure to go any deeper. Since we did do quite a bit of strengthening work, your body might be less cooperative to stretching, but for some of you, it actually might be more cooperative. So just seeing how it feels. Wherever you are, leaning back, tucking the tailbone under, pretend like you're going to flatten the lower back against the wall. Notice if you can relax a little bit. Still keeping the strength in the legs though. If you want more, I will give an option. This is just an option. If the right knee is down, the right arm will reach up, so it's the same side. Inhale, lengthen, and lean back, touch the wall. Exhale, lean over toward the left side. Keep trying to press everything back into the wall behind you, opening up. This is one of my favorite variations. You can stay or bend your arm, taking your hand behind your head, trying to lean back still. Holding wherever you are for 3, 2, and 1. Release your hands down and do a little switcheroo. Maybe you just swap the opposite knee on. If you need to come back to kneeling first, totally fine. Find the variation that you stuck with on the other side. If that means just staying on the right shin, do that. Otherwise, right foot can step forward. Make sure the left heel is just outside the glute. Stay wherever you need to for as long as you need to. When you're ready, if you're ready, you can rise up. Hands can come to the wall. Push through the right leg so you can lean back. Tuck the tailbone under. Pretend like you're going to flatten the low back into the wall by closing off through the front side of the ribs. Breathing here. Notice where you feel the sensation, where you feel the stretch. And if you feel this a lot in the top of your foot, I recommend either using like thick socks, slippers, or even putting the blanket or towel also between your foot and the wall. It just means you need to work a little bit more on ankle mobility as well if you're not feeling it as much in the quad. Okay. Left knee is down, option for left arm up. Inhale, lengthen, lean back. Exhale, up and over toward the right side. Feels good. Keep leaning everything back toward the wall. Option to stay here or bend the top arm, taking your hand behind your head. Still leaning back though. Lengthening through the elbow if you are bending the arm. Hold. We'll all meet up in 3, 2, and 1. Rise back up. Reset your hands onto the blocks and make your way off of the wall. All right, so if there are any other poses that you'd like to take, any forward folds or anything more relaxing, or maybe you just want to lay on your mat and take a bit of Shavasana, feel free to do so. But otherwise, you have officially made it through today's class.